Because classical economic theory argues that if you're going to maximize your utility when you're making a decision, you should look at all of the available information. You can't choose the car that maximizes your utility if you leave some information unturned. So that's called the normative theory, meaning that's how you ought to behave normatively if you want to be a perfect decision maker, a rational decision maker. But objectively speaking, that's not what we do, right? Like you and I, every decision that we make every day, we don't sample all of the relevant and available information before we make a choice. We sample until we have sufficiently differentiated between the choices that you say, there's no point in sampling more information. I now have enough information to vote for Trump. I have enough information to marry this girl, to choose this employee.
Got it.
So that's called a stopping strategy. So I was studying the cognitive strategies that people use when they're making the stopping decision. And so what I did, so to answer your question of how I went about doing it, I brought in people into the lab and I made them make sequential binary choices. Binary choices means it's a choice between two alternatives. Sequential means that they acquire one piece of information at a time on these two alternatives. This was done on a computer, and it's called a process tracing algorithm, meaning that it keeps track of every single behavior that the decision maker is making. It does that in the background. And so what I was looking at, they could acquire up to 25 attributes, let's say choosing between apartments. And I was tracking the cognitive processes that they were using and deciding when to stop and choose apartment A or choose apartment B. And then later, I applied that to other types of decisions. For example, mate choice, right? So you could apply it for anything. You could apply choosing between fitness instructors, choosing between political candidates to vote for anything, right? The reason why it's binary, it's because it only operates once you're down to two final alternatives. You might have used another process to go from 10 alternatives. Like let's say the primaries in the US system, we first go through Republican primary, then we choose one final one, and then we go through a Democratic primary, we choose one, and then the final two go head to head. That's when my model comes in.